Hello everybody. So I wanted to try and do a ramble for once. So this is something I've never done, but given the new blog that came out earlier this week about the Raids 3 rewards and now the specifics on the different items, I really wanted to touch on these and share my opinion and thoughts. So the way I'm kind of going to go through this blog is I'll basically start at the top and then move my way down through the items, and hopefully while I do this I don't actually die in Theater of Blood like a bozo, but we'll see how well that goes. Okay, now that my team is all set, we can head on in. So the first thing that comes with this blog that I think is rather interesting is basically this quest requirement that's been put on the raids. So if you aren't aware, there is a new quest that comes along that you need to do. It's a follow-up to the contact series in the desert, and I think this is definitely an interesting way to go. It's definitely something that was kind of missing from the first set of raids, and now they've added it slightly with Theater of Blood, but not really. Yeah, I don't know. Time will show if this is a good thing or not to continue to do with new content, but all of the major quests that have ended up in new content have usually led to good content. Things like Monkey Madness 2 and Dragon Slayer 2 and this sort of thing. I've been a big fan of the content that came after this, so I'm excited to see how the quest plays into the raid, if it actually has some impact or if it's just kind of a fluff thing that you do and then you never think about it ever again. Okay, so the first reward that comes along with this actually comes from the quest, I guess. So this is the upgraded Karis item, the Karis Partisan. I don't really have a lot to say about this. I don't think there's a lot of room to need to buff killing Kalphites. It's already a main Slayer task that people do for mains with the cannon. Yeah, I don't think it really needs much improvement there, but okay, whatever. Maybe in the raid it's cool to use something like this. But we'll see. So the additional thing comes with the attachments for this item. So there's 3 proposed, and we'll see which ones actually make it into the game. I guess these were quite preliminary ideas for Jagex. So 1, it basically increases your accuracy even more on bug-like creatures, so Kalphites and Scarabs, and I don't know, maybe some other class of or some other race that comes with the raid. But we'll see how that actually works out. And the second thing applies a debuff while you're in the raid. So this seems okay. A slight little damage debuff for a dot. Dots aren't really that prevalent in RuneScape, and I think they're definitely interesting ideas. And like to see it used more. I really like it in a lot of MMOs. I was a big Affliction Lock player in WoW, so this is something that definitely interests me, this type of game style, or play style. Yeah, and then the next thing was basically a small thing that buffs damage over, or raw damage inside the raid itself. The only thing that concerns me a bit about this weapon is the fact that I hope it isn't made as a meta item for the raids, so I hope it's not everybody just basically gets the best in slot item going in just by completing the quest. That would be really bad. I hope Jagex is smart enough to make this not just the overall best item that you start with, and this is your melee item for the entire raid tier. That would be a horrible mistake. But yeah, we'll see how they balance out these little attachment things that they put on this item. Okay, So this is more the fluff item, and now we can move to the actual raid rewards. So the first thing that comes is the Heka of Tumakin. So this is going to be, I guess, the main mega rare, more or less. This is the powered staff type deal, and uses this cool 2-tick, 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 4-tick attack style. I think that's really cool. I do have a problem with this item and the fact that it's continuing the trend of charged staffs. I don't like charged staffs. I think one of the biggest problems with Magic right now is basically there's no preference to what spellbook you're actually using, because you just basically take whatever spellbook gives you the best thing. So right now I'm on Thralls, and people use Venge and what have you, and I don't really like this trend. I think people should actually or the magic item should be tied to the spellbook and not just you bring your magic item and you bring your spellbook. I know that this kind of pigeonholes a bit of the diversity into the game, but yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess I want to talk more on this. Mainly, I'm not a big fan of this item, really. I don't think it should be coming into the game in this current state. The main reason is the fact that they already have harmonized orb and the harmonized staff in the game. And even from a non-iron standpoint, this item is incredibly underwhelming for how rare it is. It's super, super rare. If you don't know, it's a 500-hour item from Fasani's Nightmare, or regular Nightmare in like 800 hours or something. So it's incredibly rare. It's incredibly expensive. It's around like 900 mil right now. But it doesn't really have a lot of uses. Right now I think people use it at Zulrah, and people use it at Ice in Chambers, and mains can use it, I guess, on Mage Hand for non-solo or for like Team Cox. So this is really the only places that people use it, which is not really good. I really like this the Harm Orb when it came out, because it was hoping to revive the normal spellbook, which is basically useless other than teleports that you just put in your house now anyways. So yeah, I was really excited to see normal spellbook revived. But yeah, it basically will be dead again after this item comes out. Now with that said, I do want to return back to the Heka, because I think this is a really cool item in itself, solely for its attack style. So the variable attack rate I think is really, really cool. I think Jagex should continue to explore things like this, and we'll get to it later with the Kopesh. But I think this kind of gameplay and alternative gameplay, rather than everything just being in a very standard cycle, is more fun, and it's more challenging. Tipreki has already done an insane Olm hand running using this item, where you have to gear switch in between because it's 2-tick, 2-tick, 4-tick. But yeah, it's cool. It makes for some interesting gameplay. Personally, I don't like it coming from a mage powered staff, which is mainly my main problem with the item. But that's okay. If they can do something for Harm Orb and get it at an analogous state where you can actually choose between using the two, then I really won't have too much complaints with this. Okay. So now we can move to the next item. So this is the Ward of Elidinus. Elidinus? Yeah, okay. So this is now going to be the best in slot mage offhand. It has some magic strength bonus, which has been needed because magic items without magic strength bonus are generally just useless. So this is something that's good. I'm glad that this is getting added. So the one problem I have with this is that it's conditional on top of an arcane sigil. I don't like attachment scape. I don't like artificially propping up older bosses and making them useless just because we want to keep them useful. I've seen some suggestions passed around. about people saying that they would like to have the ward itself just have some base stats, so basically some range strength bonus attached to it itself. And then when you actually combine it with an arcane, you gain the magic attack bonus. I like this idea a lot. I think it fits really well with the current state of the game, because arcane is very rare. People don't really do corp that much, and there isn't really a lot of logical progression to kill corp and then go kill raids. I think a lot of, especially for Iron Man, is going to be like, oh, I do the new raids because it's fun and cool, and I get this item, now let me go back and get the attachment. I don't like that. I don't like how people do that. I mean, it's a similar playstyle to what I do on my accounts, where basically I don't hunt ranger boots other than just doing it passively until I have a Pegation crystal, because they're really not that good until you have a Pegation crystal. Yeah, I don't like this non-linear progression for attachmentscape. I don't think it's like really healthy in MMOs, but yeah, Jagex seems to like this. Some players seem to like it because they want to keep their old bosses relevant. And okay, I don't think anything will change there. That being said, a mage offhand with some actual magic damage bonus has, I think, been needed for a long time. I would have probably preferred they just added it to the arcane to begin with, but this seems like a good upgrade, and it's fitting, and so yeah, I won't complain too much about it. The fact that we're even getting it is good. Okay, the next item is the Missouri armor and the amulet. So this is a rather interesting item set. So this is going to be a range armor upgrade. So I want to talk about the armor and the amulet separately, because I have very different thoughts on the two. So the first is the armor. So it's a top and a bottom. The range stats are slightly lower than Armadillo on the base. And then when you proc this low life, which is basically you're below 40% of your health, so like below 38 probably with how rounding works with Jagex for most maxed accounts, you gain some range strength and you gain some ranged accuracy, making it significantly better than Armadillo. I think this is cool. It's a really cool set effect. I like it. And I like that we're actually getting some useful range armor, because right now, especially for Iron Men that just kind of want to rush content, Armadillo just isn't worth doing. Range accuracy generally doesn't matter in too many places, and then a lot of places even where you're not using a Slayer helm, you tend to use Void. And when you use Void, of course, Armadillo just doesn't matter. And then places where you do use Slayer Helm, the accuracy usually isn't that worth it, and the time to get Armadillo is usually seen as not very useful. So it will be nice to have a range best in slot item armor that's actually useful. Hopefully people will stop T-bowing in Bandos and things like in TOB, and that stops being the meta for like future content, because I think that's really dumb. But yeah, the only complaint I really have with this item, I've been looking forward to this since a new range armor was proposed in Cox back in 2016. The only idea I would have with this armor set would actually be that it floors at a base of Armadillo. Maybe you okay, well, it already doesn't have the defensive stats of Armadillo, but I think the ranged strength should basically floor at Armadillo. So I think the idea should be this is a pure upgrade for Armadillo. I don't think you want to like think, okay, which one do I want to bring in this situation? I think it should just be you get all of the accuracy of Armadillo to begin with, and then you proc this low life effect to gain the extra bonus from the range strength. But okay, in its current state, again, ranged accuracy generally doesn't matter, so you probably will just never think about using Armadillo, and then this will just be the de facto best in slot, which is also fine. Okay, now to the amulet. So again, this is going to be very similar to the armor in the fact that it has the low life effect. So at the base, it has more or less the similar bonuses of a glory. So it has no melee strength. It has, basically just base 10 stats and everything, which is okay. I think it's fine, and I think it's actually more fitting that it's significantly worse than the counterparts, because we already have quote-unquote tier 90 amulets. We have Anguish, Occult, and whatever the other one is, Torture. Yeah, I'm wearing it right now. So, yeah, I think we don't really need to have a bonus or a higher tier amulet over the tier 90. So I think an analogous item with some niche uses where you want to proc this low life thing is good. I think that's cool. And so I think this is designed pretty well. It will be an interesting item. And I think my understanding is that it will, when you equip it, it will actually put you right into the low life state. So it will knock your HP down, so you don't need an orb or anything, which would be quite nice. So I think this has some fitting uses, and you'll use it in places where basically you can pray against everything, or you can avoid basically all the damage, and will be a basic DPS boost in those situations. And otherwise, you just won't use it, which is perfectly fine. You can even use it in places where you don't always want to be low HP, and you use it as a necklace swap. That's also, I think, interesting and fun gameplay. And so I think in this case it's a good item, and I think it's well designed and well balanced. Okay. The next item that Jagex proposes is the Light Bearer. So this is a ring with no stats, but when you wear it, you get extra. You basically get double your special attack regen bonus. It seems very underwhelming. I think people will use it when they're trying to boost to Redwoods on mains, and when they're using the Dragon Axe spec or something like this. I don't see a lot of uses for this in PVM. So yeah, I mean, time will tell if this becomes useful. Maybe there's something where you really need to get a ton of hammer specs. But the way that the hammer spec works, because it's a percentage and not a flat value, there's really never a place where you want to have a ton of hammer specs. So wearing this item or wearing this ring over just wearing like a Berserker ring or a Sears or something doesn't seem like a good bonus. But okay, time will tell if people come up with interesting things, and I'm all fine with niche items. Not everything needs to be super good out of the box. Okay, and now the last reward coming from Raids 3 is the Osmum Tense Kopesh. Okay, so this is like a scimitar looking thing, which will apparently be a stab item, which is already weird because it looks like a big slashy item. But alright, so my understanding is it's going to be a slower stab item, so slower than the rapier. And it has this really cool hit distribution. So rather than your normal 0 to max hit, it has basically a floor, a minimum value on the damage roll. So it'll roll like 9 to 51 when the max hit is 60 or something like this. I think this is really cool. I really support Jagex taking non-normal hit distributions and putting it into items. I think that's probably the way to revive some of the slower attack speed items that are in the game, by basically either giving them a floor or propping up the higher end of the damage distribution. Anything like this. I think this is better than going the EOC way. and while still keeping slower items having some actual use. So this is interesting. I don't think it will just be something that you camp somewhere, because alright, the rapier as a stab item already exists. It's faster. Faster items are just generally better because accuracy doesn't matter too much. But the floored minimum hit will be very interesting. There are some places right now where you basically switch which item that you're using to attack monsters with, like in Inferno speedruns, people will switch between a T-bow and a blowpipe at a certain health on the majors, because the simulated DPS is better when you consider last hits and things like that, because the lower health. And so, yeah, well, we'll see how that goes. Yeah, so this is an item that I think is cool. I like the idea of moving towards interesting items like this one, where you have a different hit distribution, but this one seems rather underwhelming. It is confusing why it's a stab item when it's clearly not a stab item, but that's okay. It does have a special attack which increases its max hit to its true max hit, and yeah, I don't think that's going to be super useful. People might use it just to save inventory space in some places, but I don't see it being super useful. And I'm just getting chased by crabs all over. But yeah, I mean, I guess we need a... I don't know if we really needed a new stab weapon, but I guess this model of a Khopesh people wanted in the game. It makes sense because it's in the desert. That was a desert item. But I just don't think we really need any more melee weapons. Melee is pretty saturated with the meta of things that you could use. Yeah, so this is my thoughts. I hope people can find some of the insight interesting. Again, most of this is taken from an Iron Man standpoint because that's all I really play nowadays, but I do think it's some interesting content, some stuff that will lead to good gameplay, or more diverse gameplay, which is good. But some of the stuff is maybe needs a little bit tweaks on the balance, like the armor personally, I think. But yeah, we'll see what Jagex does in the months to come as people give their feedback on these items. So I'm gonna try and finish out this TOB. Hopefully we don't end up wiping. Yeah, I hope you guys can give some feedback, because this is the first time I did one of these ramble things and just spewing words out of my mouth, but I hope you find the opinions and insight something interesting. Okay, goodbye.